I'm honored to be here today to help celebrate the 38th anniversary of the liberation of the Rebbe's books as part of a team led by Rabbi Krinsky and Rabbi Baruch Shlomo Kunin and his sons, Rabbi Yossi Kunin and Rabbi Chaim Kunin. On this day, I have news to report to you on two of the cases in which Chabad has been fighting to obtain the return of additional materials. First, the return of the Schneerson collection of books stolen by the Soviet Union during the Bolshevik Revolution, and then improperly retained for more than 100 years. As many of you know, during the Bolshevik Revolution, Russia's government seized the Schneerson library, and in 1926 arrested the previous Rebbe for counter-revolutionary activities, namely establishing Jewish schools, and beat him and sentenced him to death by firing squad. The previous Rebbe was ultimately released and later came to the United States, but his books remain imprisoned in Russia. Those books remain under lock and key in Moscow, captives to the same entity that sentenced the previous Rebbe to death. In 2008 and 2010, Chabad won judgments in the federal courts in Washington, D.C., holding that the Schneerson collection was stolen by Russia in violation of international law and must be returned to Chabad. Those rulings won through the brilliant legal work of my colleague Nat Lewin and his daughter Eliza Lewin, has over the past 15 years come under repeated attack by the Russian Federation and its proxies. Recently, the DC Circuit and Appellate Court in Washington vacated the original judgment against the Russian Federation on the ground that the Russian Federation is entitled to sovereign immunity from Chabad's claims. The court did not disturb the judgment that Chabad has won against Russia's government agencies and instrumentalities, specifically the Russian State Library and the Russian State Military Archive, and the Russian Ministry of Culture and Mass Communications. At the direction of the Kunins, we are now pursuing an appeal to the United States Supreme Court, where we will be asking that court to reverse the DC Circuit's ruling and to hold that there's jurisdiction over the Russian Federation as well as over the agencies. As I'm sure you know, the purpose of the lawsuit is to put pressure on the Russian Federation to return the stolen books, the books held captive in Moscow. And in order to do so, Chabad has sought to discover and ultimately to seize assets owned by the Russian Federation and its proxies as a way of putting pressure on Russia to return the books. And currently, the judgment against Russia's agencies is approximately $200 million. On a second front, Chabad is working to recover the Rebbe's correspondence archives, containing more than 35 years of correspondence to and from the Rebbe. And in pursuit of this objective, Chabad recently appeared in court here in Brooklyn in the Appellate Division, Second Department, pursuing its claim. And the argument was, in my experience, truly extraordinary. Not only did the court's questions strongly suggest that it was inclined to adopt our legal arguments and allow us to pursue the case to recover the correspondence archive, but the justices of the Appellate Division affirmatively criticized the strategies, the arguments, and the positions taken by our adversary. One of the justices said, the Rebbe, such a learned man, why would he want one family to control the files of his writings? It simply doesn't make sense, the justice said. Another justice focused on the Rebbe's will, in which he left all his possessions to Chabad. And then he said to the lawyer representing the person who's refusing to return the letters, what is the right thing to do here? And then she looked at him and said, do the right thing. Do the right thing, meaning return the correspondence archive. Now, I can tell you, it's very rare in a court proceeding, particularly an appellate court proceeding, to have a judge tell a lawyer to instruct his client to do the right thing. Here, the return of the Rebbe's correspondence archive to Chabad so it can be reviewed and edited and shared with the world. So on the anniversary of Teves, we're awaiting the ruling of that court, which will, we all hope and pray, move us closer to Chabad obtaining the return of the Correspondence Archive, and so that we can help fill that beautiful library that you've all built at 770 Eastern Parkway. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening on this wonderful occasion.